Hello, 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 everyone. Yes, I'm so excited to have you guys here. This is the last week of 2022, and I'm so excited to bring on one of my sister docs, Dr. Mallory Salentine. We're talking about leadership. So, if you are in the leadership space, if you plan on being in the leadership space, if you thought about it, this is the show for you. Super excited. Now, before we go any further, I know a couple of you guys are thinking, like, you know what? Oh my God, this is really good. I do want to be in the show, but I didn't get a chance to book. Oh my God, is it still too late to book? No. You just have to just send us an email at drbeckford@yourcaringdocs.com to book, and then we'll try to get you on the show. Do keep in mind we are booked out 3 months in advance, but it's because there's so many awesome doctors out there who are doing amazing things inside and outside clinical medicine. Now, if you are on and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm listening to this, but I got a little busy and I didn't get to hear all of it, have no fear. Just go on our yourcaringdocs.com and select podcast. You'll see Dr. Salentine's beautiful face, and you just click on it, listen here, and you'll be able to hear the entire podcast, right? So now that we have that out of the way, let me bring my sister Doc in her amazing fashion, right? Hello, hello, Mohammed. Thank you for jumping on. Wow, we have some people jumping on early. Thank you, thank you. Alrighty, so this wonderful doc of mine, she is a graduate of the Medical College of Wisconsin. She's also did her residency there at the Medical College of Wisconsin and its affiliated hospital. She did it in pediatrics. So, yes, this is one of our pediatricians who's helping to take care of all of our kids so that they'll be able to take care of us, right? So we love all our pediatricians out there. Big, big shout out to our pediatricians. Now, as most of our docs who are on this show, they do their training and then they go ahead and get additional training because they want to be able to help out so many more people. And this doctor is no different. She went to the George Mason University for when she received a leadership coaching certificate training, and she is now a leadership coach and for organizational well-being trainer. She's also the founder and CEO of Salentine Coaching and Consulting. Hello, Chris. Yeah, go Mallory. That's right. Chris Ford is saying, woo woo. She is also the CEO and founder of the Salentine Coaching and Consulting, where she helps executive leaders and team members to create better working relationships, improve overall well-being, and she helps them retain recurrent employees. And guess what? She helps them to prevent burnout. Now we have two people. We have the person on your left, the person on your right that's helping to prevent burnout. How can we go wrong with this wonderful podcast episode? We're talking about the one and only Dr. Mallory Salentine. Welcome, 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 Dr. Salentine. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be here to talk with you.
I know we've been trying to do this for months.
We have.
Like months. But you know what? The great thing is we got it done before the end of the year. So
Yeah,
for those of you guys who are goal oriented, check. We checked it off our list.
great timing. I love it.
Love it, love it, love it. Alrighty, so you're all about leadership and you're all about helping organizations. But before we got to that part, we had probably was it little Mallory who decided she wanted to become a doctor? Let's tell us that story
Yeah.
about what made you decide to go into medicine in the first place.
Yeah. So little Mallory actually wanted to be a firefighter.
Ooh, I love it.
So I really wanted to help people.
Mhm,
And I wanted to do it in a very meaningful way. And I felt
mhm.
like being a firefighter was that chance.
I
And
love
then
it.
when I was in high school, I had some family members and some family members of friends that died from cancer.
Mm,
And that just changed my whole perspective. I was like,
mhm,
I still want to help people, but now I want to help people that have cancer. I
mhm,
spent a lot of time taking care of them. I spent a lot of time learning about their disease. I spent a
mhm,
lot of time grieving. And I just felt like this was where I wanted to be. And
mhm.
so from that point on, I was ready to be a doctor.
I love it. I love it. So we have little Mallory with her firefighter dreams. She's
Yes.
going in there. She's carrying people out on her backs.
Mhm.
Saving the world, putting out one fire at a time. Now, isn't that ironic that you're still putting out fires, but in a
It's
different
so
way?
ironic. Still carrying people through,
It's
right?
still carrying people through the
Yeah.
medical thing. Wow. So in now your leadership roles that you've done and your medical role, you're doing both.
Yes.
Interesting. Alrighty. So now you know you're there through the experience through which is what happens with a lot of people going to medicine, right? You've experienced either a family member ill, they're ill, or something that really turns and a pivotal moment within their life. And yours was, helping family members. And now you're there.
Yes.
We've moved away from the firefighter dream. We
Yeah.
moved into the medical realm. And then you're in medical school. Now, you've talked about oncology, which is our medical term for cancer, 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 but you ended up in pediatrics. So
So interesting.
tell us how that went.
I lived quite the life.
Yes.
So when I was in my first and second year of medical school, I actually did research on breast cancer and
Hmm.
I loved it. I loved the patients. I loved taking care of them.
Hmm.
And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to
Yeah.
do something with breast cancer.
Hmm.
And my third year of medical school, we got to choose what rotations we want to do and what um,
The order.
in the order.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to do pediatrics first because I'm
Get
going
it
to get
out of the
it out
way.
of the way. I'm going to be a breast. I'm going to work with breast cancer patients. We're getting out of the way.
Yes.
And my very first month of my pediatric rotations, my very first time really being with patients, I was on a pediatric oncology floor, so with kids with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with it. I just really enjoy getting to know the kids, getting to know the
Hmm.
families. I really enjoy the dynamic between the patient is the child, but your patient is still the family.
Hmm.
I was just so amazed by how kids were so resilient. Like they would be sick one day,
Hmm.
like just so, so sick. And then the next day you'd walk in and they'd have these huge smiles on their faces and they're
Oh my
laughing and they're telling
gosh,
you
how
how,
heartwarming.
and it was just, yeah, it just warmed my heart so much. And from that point on, I was like, I was hooked.
That is actually a pretty great story because for those of you who you're at home with your kids and for us in the medical profession, when a kid comes in and we can see how when they bounce back and the smile on their faces, they're not feeling well, you'll see it on their faces, but then if there's an inkling of them trying to feel better, their eyes start to light up and it gives you that warm feeling and they start to smile and then they start playing with your ID badges. Just the little things that's just so heartwarming about working with the pediatric population. Some might not be able to communicate with you, but they'll still give you ways and means of showing that they really appreciate all the work that you're pouring into them. So working with kids is definitely an amazing, amazing feat. And like I said, I always give a shout out to all my pediatrician friends because it's not easy.
It
Those
is
of us on the other end, yes, exactly. We're like, oh my gosh, we end up being afraid of kids. But
yeah,
kids, you guys are the masters at this, and you're helping the next generation. So now you got bit by the bug.
I did.
You got bit by the pediatrician bug. So you're there now on these rotations,
Yes.
and you're continuing in peds. And then what happened? Because there's another bug that bit you, that
Yeah.
leadership bug. So tell us.
Yeah. So the leadership bug and the well-being bug
And
really
the well-being
was a
bug.
big piece of it. So
So
as you
okay.
know, and a lot of you that are in medicine that are
Mhm.
watching or listening right now, residency is tough, right? So
Yes,
residency
ma'am.
is really tough no matter where you go, where you train, who you're with.
Hmm.
And it can really stop you from thinking about yourself.
Yes.
And Dr. Beckford, I know you were all about self-care and thinking
Yes.
about yourself and taking care of yourself. And I would have
Mhm.
to say that myself and many of the residents that I worked with kind of stopped those things. So we stopped
Well,
taking care of
yeah,
ourselves.
absolutely.
Yeah, stop thinking about ourselves. When you're working that much and you're really trying to take care of other people, you put them first and you come second, and that's just how life is. And so
Mhm.
when I then moved into my role as a general pediatrician, I continued to do that. So I
Absolutely.
continued to put my patients first always, put myself second or really last
Last.
always.
Yeah. Second,
Not even
last, more likely.
yeah. And I was just so stressed all of the time. I was worried about my patients. I was calling them all the time. I was, up
Mhm.
all hours of the night working on charting and thinking about my
Mhm.
patients and doing all the things that are all the things Dr. Beckford you tell us not to do, right?
For fairness, I'm saying this after many, many years of doing it.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
this wasn't just a miracle, like, oh, I've always been like that. And I
Exactly.
love that we're highlighting this to our residents and to our newly minted doctors who are out
Mhm.
there, because this is a part of the process that you've mentioned it. In residency, we're training, and so we're working. It's a very, very, you know, arduous part of our lives. And you have to, there are two parts to it. It's the physical work, and then there's the emotional part.
Right.
Because in your mind, the burden that comes along with the decisions that you make.
Mhm.
This is someone's life, right? You've just moved to there. I cannot get this wrong. So that really adds up to why we push so hard as those in medicine to really, really try to give our best. And then we end up just giving. And like Dr. Salentine said, we end up in the fourth, fifth, or last place on the self care list.
Right,
So,
right.
but go ahead.
Yeah. So I actually in 2016, a partner of mine stopped me and said, "You can't do this anymore. You need to
Mhm.
start taking care of yourself. You need to start putting yourself earlier on that list, right? Move yourself up the list."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so from then on, I started kind of shifting my mind into how
Mm.
do I put myself earlier on that
Yeah.
list? And I started saying yes to things that I wouldn't normally say yes to. Like I
Mhm.
did a mindfulness based stress reduction course. And if you know me, you know that I'm not someone that meditates. And, and I was like, well, you know what? It's being offered. It's about me. Like I need to take advantage of this. And so I
Mhm.
joined that course. And then there was a well-being committee that was started in my organization. I'm like, well, I'm going to join that. So I started, instead of saying no to things, I started saying yes to things that were for myself and to help bring me up that list.
I love it. It's so important what you mentioned, because a lot of times we talk about self care, we talk about the no,
Mhm.
right? But there's also the flip coin of that, which is the yes. So the no to the things that do not help you and they are not adding to your well being, but the yes to the things that, so it's kind of having that childlike curiosity, which is, all of our pediatricians, the childlike curiosity about learning something new that can help you. So I love that you said you started saying yes. So it's almost like that book of My Year of Yes, right?
Mhm.
Where you started saying yes to things that can help you. So how did you change during that time?
Yeah. I would say that I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the organization. I learned a lot about the culture of medicine, and I started
Mm,
to learn about leadership. So that was
mhm,
kind of where my leadership journey started,
mhm.
was that I started to really learn more about this well-being world that I
Yeah.
had no idea existed, and
You stepped into another
it was
world.
important. Right? Like I didn't realize like how important this was, and so I started really diving deep into it, and that was
Mhm.
kind of where my leadership then came out of.
I love it.
Mhm.
So many great leaders, it really starts with self, starting with, recognizing the, we'll say problem, because it really is a problem. We're not going to sugarcoat it, right? Recognizing the problem within, and then finding ways to fix or improve upon it, because some of these things cannot be totally fixed, but they can be improved.
Mhm.
And then once you find that, then bringing it to others and showing how they themselves can improve upon the situation, right? I have seen this before. I've been through this. I understand what you're feeling and I understand what you're going through. And I can show you how to improve upon that. So I love it. So now we're in the leadership space and we are at the end of 2022. For those of you guys who are in leadership, and for those of you guys who are thinking about leadership, Dr. Salentine is going to give us her 5 best leadership tips for you to do, and actually that you need to do for 2023. Go ahead, Dr. Salentine. Let us know. What are your 5 best leadership tips?
Yes. So I have to say that my number one leadership tip, which is normally people's last leadership tip, is that you have to take care of yourself.
Right?
So oftentimes, right, we will start with, oh, we have all of these tips. And then the last one is take care of yourself, right? No, number one has to be self-care, taking care of yourself, being well. Because if you are not well as a leader, your team will never thrive.
Absolutely.
You have to be well. You have to take care of yourself first in order for you to be able to take care of your team. So that is number one, self-care. Dr. Beckford is number one also. And if you're looking for help with self-care, keep watching the Dr. Beckford show and talking with her about coming to your organization to talk about that too.
Absolutely. And like we said, the leaders, number one, you are leading, and so you're leading with your cup. I think one of my other guests, Dr. Tawana Gilliard, says you're given from the saucer ministry, and I like that. She said, so your cup runneth over, all that's in the saucer, you're able to give from all of that. So that means that you have poured into yourself, and you are full, and you can now give everything else to others. So the self-care is number one. All righty, go ahead.
Yes.
Let's continue.
Number two, I have to say, is listening. So this is something that we learn as coaches, is to listen, and to listen deeply, and to listen without agenda, and to listen without giving advice. And so that, I would say, number two is super important as a leader, is to listen to your teams, understand what they need, understand what the pebbles in their shoes might be, understand where you can make a difference. So I encourage you to go out at the beginning of this year and meet with your teams, meet with them one-on-one, and just listen. Don't give any advice. Don't do any coaching, no evaluation, just listen. Ask questions to understand.
How challenging is that?
It is.
It sounds
so challenging. That's why it's tip number two, because it's so important and so challenging.
Yes, because often when we listen to respond.
Exactly.
We listen to give advice. We listen to be able to say, oh, I can help you fix that. And then as a leader, your mind is always in fixing mode. But as you mentioned, this space that you're going to create in order to later help is the first thing to do, is to listen with that curiosity that we talk about. And the curiosity is not to fix, but just to hear and understand.
Exactly.
Easier said than done.
So this is my challenge to you for 2023, right? And let me know, let Dr. Beckford know, write in the comments, let us know how that goes for you. But so important to creating safety and well-being within your team.
Love it. Love it. All righty. So go ahead. What is our number 3?
All right. Number 3 is showing appreciation to your team members. So a lot of us feel that if we're coaching, if we're evaluating, if we're giving feedback, that we're giving appreciation. And that's not always the case. And it's actually, evidence shows that giving 5 to 6 pieces of appreciation for every coaching or evaluation that you do helps your team to thrive. And so thinking about, what are the pieces of appreciation that I can give to my team members? So is that just saying hello in the morning, or asking them how they're doing, and being very curious about how they're doing, listening, right? Just like tip number 2, listening to how they're doing. There's no, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm fine. You have to actually give an honest answer, and you're listening to that, right? Or maybe it's somebody's birthday and you send them a message, happy birthday, or you come to their work and say happy birthday, or maybe they did something really great that day that is very specific. So finding ways to give appreciation outside of the coaching and evaluation feedback is extremely important for your organization to thrive.
Absolutely. And you know, we've talked about that too, also on our platforms about like the appreciation and the gratitude, just really having people be recognized. You know, I mean, we all are humans, and one of the things that I wrote about also on my last newsletter was similar. And it was about tips about 2023. So I love that our minds are thinking
Yes.
alike. And you know, it's really just showing those appreciation in the way that you know that team member responds to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you now know your team and you know that there's one team member who likes to be recognized publicly, then by all means, if the other team member does not and they just cower away, you'll show that appreciation and that gratitude to them. A nice note, a private note to that person, showing them that you recognize the great work that they've done, you appreciate it, and you see it. You know, you see it. And so they know that you appreciate them. That's a wonderful, wonderful tip. And it's something that I think we often overlook because we're like, oh, they should know that I know that I appreciate them.
Yeah.
Going that extra mile.
Well, I mean, how many times have you heard, like, I appreciate you for working through this viral surge. I appreciate you for being here through the pandemic. I appreciate you for, having great patient reviews, right? Like all of these things are very general and they
Hmm.
don't feel like appreciation. So getting very specific, just like you're saying, if someone likes to be appreciated in public, doing it that way. If someone likes a card, doing it that way. Maybe some people would like being appreciated by just having quality time with you. Grab
Yes.
them a coffee, go have coffee with them or something where you're able to really be specific in that appreciation.
Absolutely. I love that idea. I love also that last one that you mentioned because I never thought about it. That maybe their version of appreciation is just being able to spend a little quality time. So just that 5 minutes, really heart to heart, how is your mom doing? I remember the last time you mentioned this, to find out if she's improved, if she's doing worse, but that's that little heart to heart quality time is just so important. I love that. Alrighty.
Yes.
This is getting good. Yes, someone wrote, yes, Doctor, yes, Myosha Boykins Anderson, absolutely. Intentional appreciation goes a long way. It definitely increases morale. Yes, yes, absolutely. I agree with you, Myosha, my wonderful sister. And I'm going to say she's my honorary sister, Doc. Alrighty, go ahead, Dr.
Yeah.
Salentine.
So number 4 is asking for feedback.
Mm,
So we're going to listen, we're going to appreciate, and we're going to ask, how can we be better? So
mhm,
as a leader, it's really important for us to understand how our teams are functioning, how the
mhm,
organization is functioning, and how we are functioning as a leader. And so
mhm.
asking your team for feedback is vital to helping your team grow and helping your organization grow.
Absolutely wonderful. Now, I have an additional question in the feedback phase. Now, whenever people hear the word feedback, the first thing they think are nails on a chalkboard, right? For those younger people, back in the days, we had chalkboards. It wasn't all digital. But needless to say, for a young leader or someone who just got thrusted into the leadership space, hearing the word feedback probably makes them cringe and feel very awkward. What's one tip you would give to that person and how to receive feedback in a way, or to create the environment to receive the feedback in a way that it's helpful and they're not taking it personal?
Yeah. It's a
Mhm.
great question. And I think to answer it, we have to start with what is feedback. And I
Mm,
probably should have
exactly.
answered that in my previous discussion, but there's 3 different types of feedback. So there's
Mhm,
appreciation, which we've talked about so far. There's
mhm,
coaching, which is how do we improve in what we're doing? And there's
mhm,
evaluation, which is where do you stand within the team and within the organization right now? So I think
mhm,
number 1, when you're thinking about asking for feedback, you need to know what type of feedback you're asking for.
mhm,
So are you asking for appreciation? Would you like to know when you've done a job well done? that's great. We all need to be appreciated 5 to 6 times to every coaching
Exactly.
evaluation that we have, right? So knowing what type of feedback you need. Is it that you want appreciation? Is that you want coaching to do things better? Or do you want an evaluation to know where do you stand in this role and where do you stand in the organization? I think is really important.
Absolutely.
And then once you have that feedback, there are different triggers that can happen for you. So there can be triggers around trust, which is, I don't think that feedback is accurate, right? And that's a hard one. That's a hard
Yes.
one. That is where getting curious is
Mm-hmm.
very important. So being curious around where is that feedback coming from? How is that feedback happening? And what perception am I putting out there that feedback is coming to me? So if it's something that it triggers you immediately, that's untrue. That's when you take a step and you say, okay, let me take a breath and get curious around that feedback. So that's the first trigger. The second trigger would be relationship triggers, which is that you have a certain relationship with that person giving you the feedback, that something else might be going on for you. So if you notice that you start to get upset about something that is feedback that was given to you that maybe isn't necessarily about the feedback, realizing where is that coming from and having that conversation with that person about that relationship trigger. So it's important to have the conversation about the feedback, and it's important to have the conversation around what is it that's bothering me that isn't actually the feedback.
Right. Why did I'm receiving feedback, but I'm having an emotional response to the feedback. So what is it? And delving within oneself and asking, being introspective, what is it about this feedback that's given me an emotional response?
Right.
And like you said, evaluate it on this. Is it the words, or is it the relationship with the person who provided that feedback? And to delve deep into it. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So for example, if we were like loading the dishwasher, my spouse and I loading the dishwasher, right? And I say to him, like, put the forks right side up. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then he starts putting the forks upside down, right? And then later that day, I'm like, I'm really mad that you came home late today. And he's like, well, where is this coming from? It's, well, because those forks got put upside down.
It had nothing to do with the
And that's really what's bothering me, is that really, like, you keep putting the forks upside down and now you're coming home late and I'm giving you this feedback, right? So understanding kind of what might be happening for you when you have that emotional reaction that might not actually be about the forks. It might be about something else.
Something else. Absolutely. And that's important. That's important, like you said, when we're given the feedback. And then I think, did we end up going to the third? The third is
The third is the
evaluation.
identity trigger. So the third is like, this feedback goes against everything that I feel about myself. It attacks my autonomy. It attacks who I am as a person. And that's when it's really important to, again, get curious and understand where that feedback is coming from and why that feedback is happening, and what perception might be happening for you.
Absolutely. If someone is listening to this, you'll notice that a lot, I remember that book, like, everything I learned about life, I learned in kindergarten. This really is still a part of that. It's opening up the mind and being curious, and curious about, and not just taking everything only at face value, not negating the feedback that I don't like. Well, I didn't like that feedback, so I'm just ignoring it.
Yes.
I'm only going to take the positive feedback and move forward. Like, that's not how we grow, and that's not how the organization grows. So as you mentioned, tapping into where is this coming from. And when we say tapping in, a lot of that is just opening our minds, just like children, and being curious. And being curious and really delving deep, just like my perpetual, like, well, I have a 4-year-old and I answer the question why all the time. And it's the same with this. It's tapping into that and answering those questions.
Yeah.
I love it. Alrighty. So that was our quick aside on our leadership thing. Alrighty. So I think we were at number 4.
Well, that was number 4.
That was number 4. We're at number 5.
Number
There was
5 is
Mhm.
invest in yourself.
Oh, yes.
So I actually just saw, just came out recently, a Harvard Business Review article talking about the importance of investing in yourself in 2023. Our brains are our best investment, our best resource. And so investing in yourself, investing in your brain, hiring a coach, hiring a mentor, hiring a speaker, whoever that is, it is vital for you in 2023 to invest in yourself and in your brain and in growing. And I think, one of the examples that I have of this is that I just finished a coaching workshop with a group, and they mentioned to me that they've been working on creating psychological safety within their team for the past 3 years. And in 7 weeks, we created that. And so investing in yourself, investing in your brain, hiring a coach, hiring a mentor, speaker can help you push that needle forward in an extremely fast, rapid way on things that you've been working on for years.
Yeah, and the ROI on that too for organizations is tremendous. Like, I mean, it's almost I think it's almost like 200% like ROI of just investing in the organization by bringing in additional help. Like, as we mentioned, coaching, mentoring, speakers, workshops, to just create that space that allows the members of the organization to just propel. I mean, this is like a really, really real propulsion forward. And just as you just mentioned in that 7-week workshop, 7 weeks, if we really think about 7 weeks versus 3 years, 3 years. So, so almost 150, almost 160 weeks or more. We've been trying to do something, and it got done in 7 weeks by bringing in coaching within the organization. So now that organization has saved themselves like hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, and then they can move forward and not keep revolving around that same hamster wheel of we're trying to get this psychological safety net. So important of how investing in oneself, investing in one's organization will really help them to move forward in 2023. Alrighty, these tips were invaluable tips. And I know that some people, you've been able to jump in and jump out of this conversation, and you're like, oh my God, I only got 2 out of the 5 tips. Have no fear. Like we said, you'd be able to hear this wonderful repeat on our Your Caring Docs website. So just hit podcast, look at Dr. Mallory Salentine's beautiful face, click listen here, and you'll be able to get that. Now that we've done all this, once you're in this space of leadership, as we mentioned, it takes a little bit of time to get there because you usually start within. You start with recognizing something that's either broken or off. Your meter is a little bit off, right? You're a little bit off balance. And then you start to help to fix that. And then you're bringing that forward. Thank you, Hope Brown, the text-minded bookkeeper. Excellent information. Thank you so much. So, you've done all of this, and it really started within Solve. So you're now helping all these organizations to, prevent burnout. And a lot of what you said, the number one tip was making sure that you're taking care of self first. So now we want to bring it back to you, Dr. Salentine, and find out what are you doing for your self-care?
Yeah, there's so many things, but I would say my favorites are walking my dogs. We go for nice walks around the neighborhood. They love it. I love it. It's really great to get some exercise, get some fresh air, get some sunshine when it happens in Wisconsin, which is not often. Especially in the winter. But we get it when we can. And then I would say that actually some mindfulness has been really valuable for me. I do grounding exercises where I'm able, when I notice that my brain is just all over the place, which happens pretty often, I'll be like, oh, I need to ground myself now. And I'll start my grounding exercise, and it brings me back into the present moment really quickly. And that's
Mhm.
something I would have to say for those of you who are not meditators, which I am with you, took a lot of practice for me to be able to do that. So I would encourage you, if it's something you're interested in doing it
Mhm.
every day. I would do it every morning when I woke up, I was getting ready. I would do a grounding exercise, even if it didn't work at the time.
Mhm.
But over time, it started working. And now it's like it just works instantly. Once I notice my brain doing all of the things that normal brains do, I can
Yes.
bring myself back very quickly now that I've practiced that.
Love it, love it. So for those who are listening, they're like grounding exercise. That means are
Yeah.
you laying on the ground? Like, are we planting things in the ground? Like, explain just
Yeah.
quickly
So
what
thank
that.
you for that. My favorite grounding exercise is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory exercise. So you
Mm-hmm.
look around yourself, you find 5 things that you see, then you have 4 things that you feel,
Mm-hmm.
3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, which can be the tough one, and
Mm-hmm.
then 1 thing that you taste. And so it really helps you to like stop the brain chatter that's going on and really focus on the present moment.
Love it, love it. And you can see how that is such a powerful tool because once you start to focus in on those things, your brain likes to work.
Mhm.
And that's why it doesn't turn itself off. So now you're like, okay, I see that you are in overdrive mode. Let's give you some things to focus on. And then you narrow its focus down, and you said you end up calming yourself down at the same time. Calming yourself is in your mind. So it's focus, and I love it. Love it, that grounded exercise. Alrighty. So with that, do you find yourself being able to use that to help to reduce the burnout? Where is Dr. Mallory Salentine now versus Dr. Mallory Salentine when her colleague says, ma'am, I think
You need to stop.
you need to stop.
I am in a totally different place than I was then. I love what I do. I love
Mhm,
my life. I'm so happy. I love helping people still. That has
mhm.
not changed, right?
Yeah.
I'm still very much in the place that I want to help others. And I think that's what's really exciting about it is that I'm able to do that in a much more meaningful way. So I'm so
Mm,
grateful that I dove in, that my colleague stopped me and I dove into saying yes to myself. And that really
mhm.
helped me to improve my work for others.
Absolutely. Isn't that just so powerful? Like, when you're stopping, ooh, voice went away. All righty, here we're back. When you're stopping yourself from burnout and you're helping to dig yourself out of the hole that is burnout, or you're breaking yourself from getting into the hole that it is burnout, you know you have within you so much more to give and of course to receive from the world. And when you're able to find that balance that it is within loving yourself, accepting yourself, being happy where you are. And it's not being happy as in you are now no longer striving for more. It's just being happy with, wow, I've achieved so much. I love the life that I'm living. And so now when you're finding ways to project more positivity and help others, you're able to do so from a space of, wow, I feel full. Now I can really give so much more to others, and that's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful experience. And a thing with burnout makes you think that you don't have more within you. And it really sucks a lot out of us. And a lot of people who get into the realms of burnout it's it's not just the psychological, but it's just the physical exhaustion that goes along with it. From it pulls the pure joy out of everything that you loved doing. So when you're able to see that's little shimmer of hope and joy coming back, and you're like, yes, I am me. I am me again, and then now there's even more me out there for me to give. So I cannot imagine how you're feeling. Tell me how this experience has been for you.
Yeah. I mean, you just said it right there. I feel like myself again.
Hmm.
I mean, it takes my like everything away. Like I
Yes.
don't even have words for it.
Yes.
It really does. Like I have even been saying this week to people, I feel
Hmm.
like myself again. And
Hmm.
my mom actually said to me this summer, she's like, I've never, like, I can't remember seeing you like this happy.
Right.
And so other people are seeing it. I'm seeing it. I finally feel like myself again. And it's just such a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's like we said, our breaths are being taken away. We have goosebumps because it's just so great, and it's almost similar to what we talk about, like that childlike phase when the kids are just happy,
Yeah.
like yes, we're just we're happy. We've made it out. We made it to the other side of this, and the beautiful process about it. A journey that we've learned along the way is that, like Dr. Salentine and myself, we're here to really help others to
Mhm.
really help others to get to back to that point of life when you're just like, I'm happy.
Yes.
I love it. Alrighty, so here's my fun question of the day. So, Dr. Salentine, if you weren't a doctor or a firefighter, because I have to pull that out, or a coach, executive leader, like you weren't any of those, what would you be?
I would probably, well, I mean, realistically, I probably would have been a chemistry teacher. I TA'd
Oh,
chemistry in college and I loved teaching. And I think that was my decision between going into medicine or becoming a chemistry professor. I think
wow.
like dream life,
Hmm.
I would
Yes,
be like a personal trainer or a chef.
I love it. So I
Yes.
haven't had the personal trainer or the chemistry professor. I've had some math professors, and I haven't had the chef, but I've had the restaurateurs
Mm.
and the cafe owner. And yeah, actually the baker, yes.
Wow.
I did. So I love all of this because as I keep thinking, I'm like, we are going to have like this fantastic spread of dancers. We've had the photographers, we have the florist, and and so now we have the personal trainer, chef, chemistry professor.
Yeah.
Such a great combo. I love it. I love it. I love it. Alrighty, it's been such a wonderful experience being sitting here with you, Dr. Salentine. And I know those who are watching or those who are listening are thinking, wow, I really, really had a great time. And, she really knows her stuff. And wow, I love those pearls on leadership. And I know that she has that and she's been through this whole process of burnout. So she understands me. Where can I find her? So let them know, where can they find you?
Yeah, so that you can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and that might be where you're watching right now, which is
Mhm.
great. It's just my name, Mallory Salentine, in both places. And then my website for my coaching and consulting business is www.salentine, which is SALENTINE, coachingandconsulting.com.
That's right. And for the coaching and consulting, we're spelling this all out, no symbols,
Yes.
coaching and consulting.com.
Yeah.
All righty. Do you have any particular programs that you have coming up that you want to highlight for anyone to be a part of upcoming in 2023?
Yeah, so I am offering one-on-one coaching, and then I'm also offering group workshops for organizations.
Wonderful, wonderful. So if you are a physician and you're looking for a physician coach, you have Dr. Mallory Salentine. She has all of the wonderful programs that she offers on her website at salentinecoachingandconsulting.com. If you are an organization, yes, Dr. Salentine is here to help your organization to prevent burnout and retain employees and to really help them propel themselves forward. So no more 156 weeks of stressing. You can get it done within a 7-week program, as she's mentioned. So, Dr. Salentine, this is so wonderful. And I thank you so much for stopping by and dropping your
Mm.
5 tips for our leaders that they need within 2023. Plus, you gave us 3 bonus tips on, on feedback. What is feedback? How to approach it, and the different types of feedback that exists, and how to use it to propel ourselves forward in 2023. So for with all of that, I think that our 2023 is, we're almost set. So if
We're
one of your
ready.
goals is for leadership, hey, this podcast episode is for you. What do you think, Dr. Salentine? I think
We're
great.
excited. Let's do this.
Exactly. Let's do this. Let's do this. All righty. Do you have any last words before we end today's broadcast?
I think just thank you so much for bringing me on here. I'm really excited to be on this journey with you into
Mhm.
making our organizations a better place to work and to live. So thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Dr. Salentine, for jumping on. And I want to thank all of our people who are in the chat. We've had so many people saying hello. So thank you. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you so much to Chris Ford. We have a LinkedIn user that's like, oh, I'm so excited to watch this. We're excited to have you here. Okay, we have Maraf Hussein that's saying happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too. And for great success, yes, Mohammed, absolutely, absolutely. And we have another LinkedIn user that's saying, such great info. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing. I know, I know. And for those who didn't get it, hey, don't worry. It's on the website. We have it on the website. And we have Marty Wallner that says, are you talking about childhood trauma? No, we aren't talking about childhood trauma. We did give a little bit about residency and how we made it through, and some of the techniques to use in order to kind of pull yourself a little bit from burnout. We talked about self-care, which is very important. And then also my wonderful, wonderful, I said my honorary sister, we have Myoshia Boykin Anderson that says intentional appreciation goes a long way, definitely increases morale. And Myoshia Boykin Anderson, she is an entrepreneur, and she is a very successful entrepreneur, and she runs definitely teams. And so this is not just advice and appreciation that you're getting from a random person. She's a very, very well successful entrepreneur here in the Houston area. Um, so we also had Hope that says excellent information. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Hope, for jumping on. Thank you so much. And again, we have Mohammed. Thank you, Mohammed. Thanks for the positive energy. Thank you for the positive energy. We feel it coming through the chat. We really appreciate all of you who has taken the time to hear with us near the end of this year to be on this wonderful podcast and this wonderful show. We want to thank Dr. Salentine for stopping by. Yes, we love you too, Ayosha. Want to thank Dr. Salentine for stopping by and for giving us such great tips for our leaders for 2023. It is all about you, it's all about leadership. And now you have some great tips here. Bye.